Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Kalika and you're gonna be a mildly spicy person after watching this video. Student blames me for his poor performance. Now gets to wake up at 5 AM to get the lessons. Back when I was a flight instructor at a college a decade ago, I had a horrible student. He didn't return calls, never studied, and rarely showed up on time. One of my lesson slots was at 7 AM on Saturday mornings, which none of my other students could accept due to other scheduling, so I put him in that slot. I knew he lived 45 minutes from the airport, and in order to have the plane ready on time, he would need to be there 30 minutes before his slot started, so he'd have to be waking up at around 5 AM to make it there on time. Now, I'm not a jerk, and I knew he wouldn't be able to make those slots since he was in a fraternity and he was the partying type, so I told him that even though we were officially scheduled then, we could just fly at a later time in the day. It also benefited me since I didn't want to be up that early. Due to his poor performance, we had to have a meeting with my supervisor to go over why he was having issues. I knew he would blame me, since he never took responsibility for any of his problems. So luckily, I had been documenting all of our issues with my supervisor. Of course, the meeting comes and he blames me, saying that me changing our schedule around is causing him issues. So of course I offer to stick rigidly to our schedule. My student says this will solve all of our problems. My boss knows it won't, but is willing to let the student dig his own grave, so he agrees to it as well. Now, this isn't a big problem for me, since I live only a few minutes from the airport, and we have an online system that allows me to see if he's shown up yet. Worst case scenario for me is he shows up on time, and I have to drive a few minutes before our session. Our first weekend with the schedule comes, and he never shows up. I call a few times, leave some messages, and then half hour after we're supposed to start, call into the office and have them charge him for a no-call, no-show, which pays me just as much as him showing up would've. I usually waive these if the student can give me a decent excuse, but he didn't. He finally calls me around noon and says that he forgot to set his alarm. Could we fly later in the day? I remind him of our agreement and we need to stick straight to our schedule. Second week rolls around and he no-call, no-shows again, so he gets charged again. This happens on and off for the next month, with him occasionally showing, and sometimes not. Finally, my boss gets tired of it and tells him if he no-call, no-shows again, he's out of the program. At this point, he's 2 years into getting his degree. He has over 120 hours of private pilot training. A normal student would have a certificate by 50 hours, give or take. Between classes and flying, he has, or his parents have, probably dropped around $80,000, so he takes this pretty seriously. Next weekend comes and I see he's checked in on time, so I head into work and I see him driving out of the parking lot as I pull in. I get into the office and our head instructor tells me that they smelled alcohol on him and are sending him to get drug tested. He comes back with a BAC above the limit for flying, but below that for driving, and gets booted from the program. Turns out he took it seriously to show up, but not enough to not party the night before. Luckily for him, he was able to switch majors, but a bunch of his classes would have been aviation related, which don't transfer to other majors. So he wasted a good chunk of money and never even got a private pilot certificate. I'm all for going to university to have a good time and have a few parties here and there, but how stupid does this guy have to be to arrive to an airport after partying the night before? Alcohol stays in your system for a pretty long time. I'm glad he didn't even get his private pilot certificate because my god, the chaos. Guess I'll just be goth. When I was a kid and teenager, my mother forced me to wear these weird outfits at all times. It was either a polo shirt and a skirt or a sweater and a dress, and the only colours I was allowed to wear was pink, red and baby blue. The worst part was, I wasn't allowed to pick either. It also had to be the same colour and I had to wear pigtails. She also had to approve of every bit of media I consumed. I wasn't allowed to play Monopoly because it promoted greed, wasn't allowed to listen to any music that wasn't on a particular radio station. Luckily, she didn't read books, so I was able to read things like The Hunger Games. Luckily, my parents are divorced and swapped me every 2 weeks, so I didn't miss out on a childhood, but it was still annoying. Eventually, she got me a phone with a camera. It wasn't an iPhone or even really a smartphone. It was only to text her pictures of myself to make sure I was wearing what she wanted. Eventually, she got more and more restrictive. She would grill me on everything I did at my dad's house. She started making me do creepy oaths to her and a lot of other weird crap. I got super anxious about being caught doing something that she would disapprove of. It eventually started to get to me. I ended up having a massive breakdown. She was maybe 25% the reason I had this breakdown, but she caused it by grilling me over the phone because my sock was too red. I ended up having to get stitches at the hospital because I broke a mirror and smashed a sink, nearly passed out from blood loss. My dad had to take me to the hospital. Luckily for me, my mum got arrested for beating on a cop a day later. She ended up spending 5 months I think in jail, lost her house, job and her car got destroyed at the impound lot. I stayed with my dad permanently after mum got arrested. I changed school. The school I went to was the other 25% of the reason I had that breakdown. I did take a week and a half off before I went back to school. During that week and a half, I got really into gothic and industrial music, like really into it. My dad's girlfriend, now stepmom, felt bad for me, so she gave me $300 to buy new clothes and I bought all black and goth clothes. I was a goth throughout high school, but after I graduated, I began introducing different colours to my wardrobe and I'm a bit less goth. Black is my favourite colour though. Now here's where the revenge comes in. I still visit my mum, and when I do visit her, I make sure to dress up as goth as possible. Stuff like corpse makeup and extra black everything. I also never visit her alone and she doesn't have the balls to say anything while other people are around, but I know she absolutely hates it. Some of you guys may have seen my Am I the A-hole post and the edit where I said I was going to tone it down, but recently I got news that she has terminal cancer, so I've decided to be goth around her till the day she dies. I think that last line just upped it from PettyRevenge to something else, but I can't imagine someone being that strict on the clothes you're wearing, or how your hair has to be every single day. I got creative freedom as a kid. My parents didn't care what I wore as long as I was happy, and I've gone through a lot of phases. From being around 6 or 7 and my favourite t-shirt had a cowboy on it and large tassels on the sleeves, then on to being like a skater girl who couldn't skate when that Avril Lavigne song came out, then on to goth, then punk, and now I just kind of wear standard jeans and a t-shirt all the time. I've become so boring. Yes, I did get your only income taken from you. From 15 to 19, I dated my high school sweetheart. I thought I was going to marry this guy, so I didn't care about money. He didn't have a job for a while, 3 years, so I paid for everything. I paid for all our dates, I bought him clothes, food. Furthermore, my family got him 2 jobs. I got him a phone, access to a car, and kept him from getting kicked out of his mum's. He was invited on family vacations. We paid for him to go to taekwondo with our family, my mum bought him a laptop and paid for his entrance into university. He called my mum and even lived with us for a short time while he was trying to get clean from drugs. One morning, I wake up to a bunch of texts. Don't read this. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Honey, I'm on a bad trip. Honey, I've been doing drugs behind your back for the last year while you've been at college. I've been lying. Like literally 10 texts. I had told him at the beginning of our relationship that drugs are a no-no for me. I have asthma and just don't want to date someone who smokes. I'm crushed. My mum has been right these past few months. He has been lying to me. I had driven 4 hours every weekend to see him 1 day a week, and he lied. Not only that, I hadn't received a birthday present in a year and a half. No Christmas either. Anniversaries? I paid for that too. I paid for everything, and he was secretly getting money from his uncle and had been spending it all on his drug habit. To try and get him clean, we get him to move in. He breaks up with me for a day, to do drugs, says it's a mistake and comes back the next day. I stupidly take him back. We go off to college together when he graduated high school, because I was a year older. When we get to college, I think everything is going to get better, and they are at first. My mum had gotten him set up with a dorm and a meal plan and registered for his classes. But after 3 months, he tells me he's going to quit at the end of the semester. I'm crushed, but understood that school isn't for everyone. For the next 2 months of the semester, he slacks off, doesn't get a job, doesn't make any plans, and fails all his classes. At the end of the semester, he moves out of his dorm without even telling his roommate. I help him move all of his stuff into a friend's house, back in our hometown. I think, yeah, I can do this, school isn't for everyone. Mind you, I'm a very driven person with 2 degrees and I'm in law school right now. His buddy he's moving in with sets rent at $250 a month for a room, super cheap. He goes back to his old ways, sleeping all day, video games all night, and no job or school. However, staying drug-free becomes too hard for him. And on January the 2nd, he breaks up with me. Again, I'm a shell. I'm so lost and upset. He tries to get back with me the next day, but even in my altered state, I wouldn't let him. What ensues is my personal sort of revenge. I tell his mum, who he hates, that he broke up with me and that he had left school. I know she's a blabbermouth and that she'll tell everyone. And she does. She tells his uncle, who'd been giving him a monthly allowance to keep him afloat in school. His uncle cuts him off as obviously he's a dropout. Without this income, I know he'll be unable to stay where he's living. She also takes away the car that she gave him. She also tells her parents, his grandparents, what he's done, and they take away the $2,000 gaming computer they got him for going to college. Furthermore, his only work experience is the jobs my parents have gotten him through friends. So we tell all the friends what he's did to me, so they'll never give him recommendations. I also have my mum go over to his house and pick up the phone I gave him, so now he has no phone. By the end of the 2 months, he moves back in with his mum, which I knew would happen without that money from his uncle. Next November, he almost died of alcohol poisoning, a 0.3 blood alcohol level. He tries to get me back, but I won't have him. I still occasionally get a pathetic Facebook message asking me to talk to him, even after he went behind my back with someone I thought was my friend and started dating her. They lasted like 6 months, and ended after he got another girl pregnant. He actually paid for the abortion with my ex-friend's money. I'm only assuming that's how he paid, considering he still hasn't gotten a job and plays video games all day. Again, I think this is probably a bit further than just petty revenge. She has systematically torn his life back down to ground level, took away his money, car, phone, accommodation, and forced him to move back in with a parent that he hates. And that last paragraph, wow. Hopefully he gets his act together at some point, gets off the drugs and gets a job. Okay, so that's all for r/petty revenge. I really hope you did enjoy it. As always, if you do want to see more content like this, then please do subscribe. My Twitter, Discord, and Patreon links are in the description, and any support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for watching.